All right, Ronin Fishing here, Vinny Melkus. I'm here with a bait review, or just kind of, if you haven't seen this one, just kind of giving you an initial overview. Now, one of the things is, usually this time of year when we get into the fall, there's a number of baits that I like to use. One of them is a oversized jerk bait, and Lucky Craft. Well, I guess Lucky Craft has one coming out, or they used to. I don't know why they discontinued it or what happened to it, but it used to be a large, oversized pointer. And I've had a lot of good fish on that, and a lot of people didn't really throw it that much. Maybe that's why they redid it. And I noticed it's really hard to get right now, but they've come out with it. I don't know what happened to it, but it's really tough to find. You can't just go to the tackle store and find that pointer anymore. So I started looking around other brands, and of course, you go look at Megabass and a few other companies. Well, when I went to Megabass, I actually found something that I really liked. And from the looks of it, right? And I looked at some other guys that have thrown it, and it seems pretty cool. So I went ahead and ordered me one, and I got it. And if you're not familiar with it, this is it. This is the Kanata, the Megabass Kanata. Now, I mean, I'll take it out of the package. Don't worry about it. But this is it. This is what it comes in. Now, this isn't your Vision 110. I'll tell you that. This is, like I said, this is close to 6 inches. It makes the Vision 110 look like, a baby, but what you'll notice about this, one, the edges aren't like the 110. Of course, the size, the thickness isn't like the 110. This is like a flat. To me, it looks like a flat-sided crankbait in a jerkbait, right? You got kind of a thick body. To me, this looks like a gizzard shad imitator, or from where I'm from, up north or whatever. This looks exactly like the profile of a Cisco or some kind of other pelagic style whitefish type bait fish, which this time of year giant smallies they're just crushing on these things. Here's what I'll tell you about this bait. I'm gonna keep this quick. One, you look at it, it's got the Megabass attention to detail. It's, look at that color. I just went ahead and just got this generic color with a little bit of red on the gills. I couldn't call it generic, but I just went ahead and it's the Kanata AY. And it goes pearl or whatever, it's kind of translucent. But this color itself, if you look at the colors, they're all awesome, typical Megabass stuff. But this color itself, like I said, I got it because it traverses the gamut of bait fish, whether it be like a Cisco or a gizzard shad. So if you're in the southern lakes, gizzard shad, you're going to be primary large forage. If you go to the north, you got Cisco's and other whitefish style suckers or whatnot. Excuse me. But internally, you can see those 3 bearings, which makes this thing just like cast like a dream, because you're thinking, man, this is big. If you ever thrown some other big flat-sided type baits that catch wind, they screw up when you're casting. This bait, you don't have that they don't have that issue with it. Casts great. It doesn't have the same side to side as the 110, right? It's gonna roll a little bit more with that flat side, but hey, man, it works. The other thing that typically your average 110 when you get it out, it suspends at a certain temperature, right? And has kind of more finessey hooks. These have a little bit bigger hooks, but what this thing does out of the package that the 110 doesn't, it floats. Now, if you're fishing shallow, I mean, it's actually a good thing. I don't mind it floating because you can adjust it, right? Fishing shallow, it actually works out to your advantage. If you're trying to fish a little deeper, you can adjust the hooks on it. You can even wrap the hooks with lead or lead tape on the hooks or the belly, or you can mess around with it. You can customize it. You can get it to suspend or just slowly float, because at warmer temperatures, this thing tends to float pretty fast. If you get it down in the colder temperatures in the the 50s or whatnot, it floats up but doesn't float near as fast. But a lot of us are fishing in the fall, so the water temperatures are still we're looking at, if anything, 60s, 70s in some places. So you're gonna have to tinker around with it if you want it to suspend. I don't mind like a slow rise. It actually seems to work out a lot better at this time of year. But anyway, the other thing is with this, this is what you're getting. So one, you got the profile, the larger profile, the larger bait, and bigger bass, right, or bigger fish in general. Typically, you're gonna catch the gamut with this thing. Still, you're gonna catch fish the same size as this thing, but what this bait does allow you to do is you can upsize your stuff and not sacrifice. Like if you take a 110, right, it's pretty sensitive to the line and the rod you want to use. You want to use specific equipment for that thing, right? And especially with line, I've noticed that it acts different whether you throw it on an 8-pound test or a 12-pound test or 14-pound test or whatever the case may be. You're not going to throw a 110 on 20-pound test more than likely. I mean, maybe you will in certain instances, but generally, we're talking about the general dynamics of this thing. So yeah, normally you're not going to throw a 110 on 20, 25-pound test. Well, with this bait, you can get away with that. You can throw it on a big swim bait type rod and do all right. Or not a big giant one, like a lighter swim bait rod. Like I'm talking about something you'd throw like a 5 or 6 inch swim bait on, a rod that's rated 1 to or 3/4 to 1 ounce to upwards of 3 ounce. And in fact, I do that. I have a G Loomis swim bait rod that's rated for 1 ounce to 3 ounce. It's a fast action, but I throw it with this, and it does awesome. I actually throw small glide baits on that deal. Like I'm talking about your small Jan crafts, your 6-7 inch baits. So I'm throwing it on the same rod, but I'm using 20. You can get away with 20, 25-pound test. I mean, I like to go on the downside. So you're looking 15 to 20 fluorocarbon. Really works well with this thing. So one, you can upsize all your equipment. So that's an advantage too, because you're not dilly-dallying around and you're targeting bigger fish. But I'll give you another look at this. So this is it. This is the Kanata. And I don't have any videos of me catching fish on it or anything, because I've just got it and I've just messed around with it a few times. I didn't have a camera with me. But there are a couple videos out there, guys throwing it. You'll probably see me throwing it now that we're in the fall at some of these tournaments. Maybe not the U.S. Open at Lake Mead. I mean, you never know, but probably not there. Typically there you downsize because you're talking about threadfin shad at that time. But when I go to Grand, hey man, you might see me out there with this thing. I mean, I'm gonna be throwing some other stuff. Obviously, Grand, I don't want to give away too much right now when we're doing this review, but I have been in Grand in October, a little bit later in October than the MPFL's going. But I've been there in October and thrown that oversized pointer and done pretty well on it, and with like 400 boats around me. But anyway, the Kanata, there it is. You're looking at a $24, $25 lure, but it allows you to throw it on bigger gear, target bigger fish, target a different a type of action in your jerk bait, and mimic a different bait fish. But anyway, like, subscribe. I'll talk to you later.